Hello world, George Filip here. I'm back in Athens and by now you've probably noticed that my room is full of posters. I actually just got a second periodic table poster. It's right there. So, what I want to do today is go through all of the posters in my room and talk about what I like about them, maybe a fun fact for each one or a misconception. I'm going to start right there with a group of posters you've never seen due to my camera angle. Right here I have a poster of the Earth's structure. Did you know that even though the Earth's inner core has a higher temperature than the outer core, it is solid due to the high pressure? Moving on to this slightly inaccurate representation of our solar system. Pluto is not a planet. It was officially demoted in 2006. If we call Pluto a planet, there are quite a few other sun-orbiting objects in the Kuiper belt that would qualify as planets. And this here is the Tree of Life. I'd like to point out that, contrary to popular belief, humans did not evolve from dinosaurs. We just have a common ancestor somewhere in this part of the tree. Casablanca is one of the most popular movies of the 20th century. Quotes from the movie are some of the most famous quotes in history. Case in point, 6 of the American Film Institute's 100 greatest movie quotes of all time are from this movie. And now let's move on to this lower group of posters and The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. Today we'll look at this piece of art and think of Michelangelo as a great painter, which he obviously was. However, over the course of the 5 years it took to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, he got really exhausted from all the painting. In 1509, while working on the Sistine Chapel, he wrote a poem to his friend, whose name I will probably pronounce incorrectly, so I won't even try. The poem's final verse was, "I'm not in the right place, I'm not a painter." To the left of The Creation of Adam we have the beautiful city of Paris, with all of its tourist attractions next to each other and the Eiffel Tower in the center. There are a lot of them. 6 of the world's 50 most visited tourist attractions are in Paris. Albert Einstein's contributions to physics and science in general are priceless. Here he is, alongside one of his quotes. He's arguably the most frequently misquoted person ever, so I was surprised to find that this quote is actually his. At least according to Wikipedia, I can't really know. When one tries to think about the future, it can often lead to existential questions and crises. That's why I have this tiny poster here to remind me to live in the moment. I have one of the most famous films of all time right there, so it only makes sense to have one of the most famous TV shows of all time too. Friends, 50 years younger than Casablanca, has made its way into pop culture as well. Fun fact, Friends is where the term friend zone was popularized. Like most people, I've only watched the entire series like 5 times. The next poster I'll talk about, right above the Friends one, is one of the periodic table, the elements of which I have memorized. In order. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. This version of the periodic table is slightly outdated, since the elements ananquadium and ananhexium have since been given the names flerovium and livermorium, in honor of a Russian and an American laboratory respectively. Speaking of different countries, this here is my typographic world map. You can see that some countries are just huge, while others you can barely see. This map helps put the world we live in perspective. Vitruvian Man is one of the most famous pieces of art by Leonardo da Vinci, even though it was originally just a drawing in his notebook, never intended to be seen by anyone. What makes it really interesting is what it depicts, the ideal human proportions. It's where anatomy meets drawing, where science meets art. In a lot of ways, this is really representative of da Vinci himself. In addition to being a painter, he was also a scientist, a musician, a sculptor, a mathematician, an engineer, an anatomist, an architect, an inventor, a botanist, a geologist, a cartographer, and a writer. Wow! Under the drawing there are some notes by Da Vinci, which I have covered here by my plant cell poster. Plant cells are the best. They were the first to be discovered by scientists. Not to mention how cool they look in this poster. Anyway, it's time to switch angles again because I'm now going to talk about the brain. The human brain, in specific. I'm not actually going to tell you anything new about brains in this video. Instead, I'm gonna let me from a month ago repeat what I told you then. People only use 10% of their brains. That is just wrong. While scientists don't know exactly what each part of the brain does, they know this. All of the brain matters. This misconception first appeared in the early 20th century, when it was apparently used metaphorically by William James. Okay, periodic table again. This is my new periodic table poster. I got it from this book, The Elements by Theodore Gray. It's an absolutely awesome book. It goes in depth into every single element, explaining their history, their common uses, and a whole lot more. It's got great pictures too. So here's something cool about the elements. Of the 118 elements of the periodic table, 86 are solid at room temperature, 2 are liquid, 11 are gas, and the remaining 19 states at room temperature are unknown. And now it's time to go to the John Green corner. Welcome to the John Green Corner. Here I mostly have posters about John Green's books, which I wish there were more of. Here's Looking for Alaska, my favorite book ever, and then Abundance of Catherine's. The best book about a not working in real life math formula I've ever read. It also has anagrams. Trust me, it's way better than I make it sound. This is Paper Towns, the first John Green book I read, and The Fault in Our Stars, the movie of which is coming out in 41 days here in Greece. I'm so excited! And finally, my last poster is my DFTBA one. DFTBA of course stands for Don't Forget to Be Awesome. It's the Vlogbrothers motto, and it's a very good one. It's something we should all try to do in our daily lives. And with that inspiring, I guess you could say, message, I'd like to leave you today. See you next week. This is George Filip, signing off.